Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for any upcoming videos. Hey cousins, did you know that one of the richest black girls in American history was born to former slaves? Yeah, you heard that right. Let me tell y'all about Sarah Rector, the young black millionaire whose story sounds like something straight out of a movie. Sarah Rector was born March 3rd, 1902, in an all-black town of Taft, Oklahoma, which was part of the Indian Territory at the time. She was the daughter of Rose McQueen and Joseph Rector, both of whom were African-American freedmen of the Creek Nation. Now, if you're wondering how a little black girl in the early 1900s became a millionaire, buckle up because this is a wild story. After the Civil War, many black families, including Sarah's, was granted land through the Dow's Allotment Act. This act divided up land among Native American tribes and their freedmen. At just a year old, Sarah was given 160 acres plot of land in Oklahoma, but there was one problem. It was considered poor quality and not sustainable for farming. Her parents struggled financially, so they even thought about selling the land and paying their $30 annual property tax. Can you imagine? Just $30 stood between them and one of the biggest fortunes in history. But here's where fate steps in. In 1913, when Sarah was only 11 years old, her land was leased to the Standard Oil Company. And guess what? They discovered oil. And not just a little bit. Her land was producing 25 barrels a day. That meant Sarah Rector was suddenly making $300 a day, which is equivalent to about $9,000 today. Within a year, that amount jumped to $11,000 per day in today's money. That's right. Little Sarah went from being poor to being one of the richest black kids in America, practically overnight. With all that money came a lot of attention. Newspapers started calling her the richest Negro girl in the world. And because she was black and wealthy in Jim Crow South, white folks were shooketh. The state even tried to reassign her a white guardian to manage her wealth. So the family chose T.J. Porter as her legal guardian. This was common practice at the time, as black wealth was often placed under white control. However, black newspapers like the Chicago Defender and the Pittsburgh Courier began reporting on Sarah's situation, bringing national attention to the injustice. Their coverage sparked outrage in the black community and caught the attention of major civil rights leaders. W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, and Marcus Garvey stepped in to make sure that Sarah's rights were protected. Du Bois even wrote a letter to the government to prevent her from being taken advantage of. But let's not forget Mama Rose. Sarah's mother, Mama Rose McQueen, fought to keep as much control of her daughter's finances as possible. While the state had assigned a guardian, Rose made sure that Sarah's wealth was protected and wisely invested. She managed much of Sarah's money until she turned 20 years old, ensuring that the family retained ownership of valuable properties and businesses. Because of her efforts, Sarah's wealth wasn't squandered and she was able to maintain a luxury life, yet responsible lifestyle well into her adulthood. My algorithm is telling me that you're watching, but you're not subscribing. Quit treating me like the cousin you don't like. Subscribe and share. Fun fact, Sarah Rector and Mama Rose owned a fleet of cars. And get this, they both had lead feet. And when Sarah was pulled over, she would say to the police, "Do you not know who I am?" I know that's right, Sarah Rector. Also, during that time, shopping in luxury department stores was unheard of for Black people. But the stores shut down and opened up for Sarah Rector and her family. See, when you have money, they forget about your color. Sarah's sudden wealth also led to some bizarre situations. She began receiving letters from strangers, some asking for loans, others asking for marriage, and some even claiming to be long lost relatives. Can you imagine being 12 years old and having grown men from around the world offering to marry you just because you're rich? It was wild. But with the support of her family and advocates, Sarah was able to navigate through the madness and secure her financial future. Sarah's wealth allowed her to live a life that most Black people of that era could only dream of. She attended the best schools, including Tuskegee Institute, and later moved to Kansas City, Missouri, where she lived in a mansion her mother bought. She even owned a fleet of cars. And get this, she was given special permission to drive because she was legally not old enough. Now that's Black excellence. But that wasn't all. Sarah was known for throwing some of the most extravagant parties in Kansas City. Her home became the hotspot for elite Black entertainers, business people, and socialites. Some of the biggest names of the Harlem Renaissance era include Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and other Black celebrities attended her lavish gatherings. These weren't just regular parties. Sarah spared no expense, hosting elegant dinners, live music performances, and celebrations that brought together the most influential Black minds of its time. Her home was a place where Black wealth and success could be openly celebrated, something that was incredibly rare during that era. As an adult, Sarah Rector continued to manage her wealth wisely. She married Kenneth Campbell in 1920, and they had 3 sons. However, their marriage ended in divorce. She married William Crawford, and the two continued to live a private but comfortable life. Sarah was more than just a millionaire. She was a businesswoman. She owned rental properties, businesses, and even a hotel. She also became involved in social causes, quietly supporting Black businesses and organizations promoting economic empowerment in the Black community. Though she lived a comfortable life, she remained relatively private about her wealth. Smart woman. During the Great Depression, some of her assets were lost, but she maintained her financial stability. Unlike many other wealthy individuals, Sarah had been taught financial literacy from a young age, and she knew how to manage her money wisely. Even though her name isn't always mentioned in history books, her story is one of resilience. And you notice I say that word a lot because it applies to a lot of Black people during this era and throughout our history. Wealth and Black success against all odds. Sarah Rector passed away July 22nd, 1967, at the age of 65. Though she lived most of her adult life outside the public eye, her story remains one of inspiration. Sarah Rector, we say thank you. Thank you for showing the world that Black wealth is possible, even in a time when the odds were stacked against you. Thank you for paving the way for future generations of Black entrepreneurs, investors, and homeowners. Your resilience and your success reminds us of the strength and brilliance within our community. You proved that financial empowerment is not just about money, it's about legacy, independence, and the right to control our own destinies. Your story continues to inspire us to build, to invest, and to protect what is ours. You may not always be in the history books, but you are forever in our hearts. Rest in peace, Queen. So, cousins, next time someone tells you black wealth wasn't possible back in the day, tell them about Sarah Rector. And Sarah Rector wasn't the only one who struck it rich from land. There were other children who made a fortune, not as much as Sarah, of course, but they made money from their land. And unfortunately, some of them were taken out. You know, I have to censor what I say due to YouTube's policy, but you can read between the lines. And people came after them for their land and for their wealth. Like Sarah had German men from across the world proposing to her at 12 years old because she was rich. They wanted to take advantage of her. They didn't even know what she looked like. They weren't interested in her at all. And interracial marriages wasn't really a thing then, you know? So someone tries to tell you that black wealth is a figment of our imagination. Start with Sarah Rector. She acquired it through land, but she maintained it through smart investments and having people around her who really cared about her best interests. The point of our channel is to get rid of propaganda, lies, the negativity surrounding our culture that people put onto us. And some of us carry that negativity and stigma around. But it's not true. I hope that you learned something new today, and I hope that you are able to share the information that you learn from our channel to educate and debunk. That's the goal. My algorithm is telling me that you're watching, but you're not subscribing. Quit treating me like the cousin you don't like. Subscribe and share. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for any upcoming videos. Bye, cousins.